Okay, so from the very top, I'm going to go ahead to MIT App Inventor, create a new project, call it Pirate Ship Game, and have that project load up. So in this game, we're going to need two sprites. Once again, I'm going to put the links to this sprite in the description in the chat. So they're going to be there. But there are two uh, small images on the internet. There's this pirate ship and then there's this gold coin. So when you have those downloaded, you can just go ahead and click save and save them to your computer. I've already done it, so I won't do it again. We just click upload in over here in your media section of your MIT App Inventor page. We upload the gold coin first, and then we upload the pirate ship. So these are two sprites. Think of sprites like images or characters that will be displayed on the screen. Okay, so let's set up the components. So on the left side of the screen of the window, you have your user interface, your layout, your media. These are all the different categories of things that you have that a phone would have typically, right? And so we have the button, the checkbox, date picker, all of these things. So what we're going to do is just click on anything that we need and drag them in there. Once you drag them in, they get added to the components. For a lot of you, this is a review, but we just want to quickly do a review just for some people that are for the first time. So we could also over here, once they get added, they get all added in the same order that you added them in. And then if you want, you can delete them as well or rename them. They all have a name, and we'll be looking at the reasons for naming and deleting their names and all sorts of stuff later. But for now, let's just add in the components that we need. So in our game, we're going to have a pirate ship that tries to look for the gold. Um, so we need to add in a canvas because a canvas is like a place where you can draw in real life, but in MIT App Inventor, a canvas is a place for you to put your images, and we're going to put our images, the images of the gold coin and the pirate ship. Those are characters that are going to live inside of a canvas. So a canvas is a special type um, of a component. So these are all components that are in your palette. So the canvas is inside of, if you ever want to know like where it is, you could kind of see that it's, there's all of the different categories, and because the canvas has something to do with drawing, it's in the drawing, but there's also a search box at the top, and you could always just find it there. So let's search for it and find canvas. And when you do, you just click and drag it. Hold, click, drag into the screen. And now the canvas is a tiny little thing. And we have a emulator. And on your emulator, if you're connected to it, you can see that this is what an actual Android phone looks like. And because the canvas is white, you can't really see it. It just sort of like blends in. So what I'm going to do with this canvas is I'm going to I'm going to change the properties of it. So I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller. All of that stuff is in the properties section over here on the right side, and the appearance. That's like your appearance when you get up in the morning. You can change your looks. We can change the looks of the canvas. And one of the things I can do is, for example, I can change the height and the width. So for example, if I want to make the canvas stretch all the way to the right side, I can make the width 100%, or I can make it fill the parent. And the height, well, the height, however high I want it. So I might want to make my height 400 pixels. So you can make it a specific length, or you can make it fill the full screen. So a 400 pixels seems to be a little bit too much because I want to have a reset button under there. So maybe I'll make it 300 pixels. So that looks good because underneath there, I can put a reset button. So outside of the canvas, I'm going to go into my user interface and find a button and drag that button in there. This is going to be the reset button. This is like in your game systems, when you click reset, what do we do? Why do we do it? We want to reset the game. So we do the same thing here. We hit the reset button. So now I'm going to go ahead and change the text of the button. So I don't want to make it say text for button 1. I'm going to click on this button, and over here the properties now change to the properties of the button. When I was clicking on here, the properties were the uh, the properties for the um, canvas, which had a background size, font size, 300 pixels, and now it's the properties for the button, which is font size, height, width. So they're different properties for different components. So one of the properties is text. The text canvas doesn't have that property, but the text button does. So we're going to change the text property to reset. Okay, you could also change the way that it looks. Like for example, you can see over here, I have the reset button, but it's very, very small. And if I want, I can make it stretch all the way to the full size of the screen. So no problem, I could just make the width go 100% or fill parent. So now my reset buttons is all the way, and I might want to make the reset button, well, give it a different text color, or um, I can make it a different type of rectangle. So instead of the default, I can make it a rounded rectangle. So again, some phones display these buttons differently, but they all are clickable. Okay, so now it's time to add in the main characters. So in the canvas, oh, and there's one other thing that we want to do with buttons or any of these blocks is that we can name them. Just like you have a name in real life so people can identify you. We have the same thing in in MIT App Inventor. People can identify you based on your name. So this button is called button 1, but that's not a really helpful name. So what we're going to do is go ahead and change this name from button 1 to reset button. Okay, we're going to change it from button 1 to reset button. Now we know that every time we want to talk about this button or use this button, we're going to know it's going to be called reset button. And the last thing that we want to do is, well, not the last, the second last is add in our pirate ship and 5 coins. So all of those are images. So the images are going to be inside the canvas. So when we want to put something inside the canvas, we have to literally drop it inside the canvas. So an image sprite is what we want to use. So it's called a sprite. So here, image sprite, not an image. Make sure it's not an image, it's an image sprite. And we'll worry about the difference later, but for now, we're just going to click and drag the image sprite into the canvas. You want to make sure that it is in the canvas and not outside, and we can tell by making sure that the canvas and the image sprite is shifted to the right by a little bit. So there's a little bit of space and the canvas can be closed and opened like that. So we're going to add 4 more sprites, or 5 more, for a total of 6. So let's go ahead and add in the sprites here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, 5 of them are going to be um, coins. But how do we change the image? That's a good question. So we click on the image sprite, and if we want to change the image of the image sprite, what we have to do is click on the image sprite and click on its property. Like always, we always change the property. So we're going to click the picture property, and we're going to change it to gold coin and click OK. I'm going to do that 5 more times. So I'm going to go and make sure also that the name of the image is not image sprite 1, but you can call it gold coin 1. So click on the image sprite 1 and click on the rename button underneath and rename it to gold coin 1. And we want to do the same thing for all of them. I always want to rename to gold coin 2, and I always want to change the picture to that of a gold coin. So I'm going to do this a few more times. I have 5 gold coins now created, and I have one more sprite left. You could guess what that is for. That is for the sprite for the pirate ship. So I'm going to click on the image sprite 6 and rename it to pirate sprite. Because we only have one, I don't have to put a number after it, just pirate sprite, and I can change the picture to be the pirate ship. This is where we're at so far. Let's take a look at the app on the phone, and I've got my phone here on the right side of my screen. Hopefully you guys can see it, and I've got a pirate ship and 5 gold coins. So now we've created the first part of the app, and this is the most important part because we've done all of our components. Actually, we're done almost all of our components. We have one other component that's not visible, but we're going to need it, and that is the clock, because that is going to keep all of us in time. So we're going to use the clock component. So that component, if you don't know where it is, just search for it. It is called clock. The clock component, we click, hold, drag, and move it into the screen. No matter where you move it, it's not going to show up on the screen or on the phone itself. It's not even going to show up over here. Where it's going to show up is in the non-visible components part of your screen. The non-visible components is just down here. So now we're done the most difficult part of our app. We're actually done. So now it's time to add the code, the actual coding to our app. So where is the coding part? That lives in the blocks. So now we're going to control our application and make this work. So remember, the point of it is to move the pirate ship by flicking it in any direction and collect the coins. Okay, so we've set up the components, and now it's time to move the pirate. Moving the pirate goes like this. To move the pirate ship, we want the user to be able to fling the sprite in the direction that they choose. To do this, we're going to be using the pirate sprite.flung handler. So you'll notice that the pirate sprite.flung handler takes 6 attributes. So where we find that pirate sprite.flung handler is by looking in all of these block code blocks. So on the left side, just like in the designer, we had components. On the blocks, we have the components blocks. So at the top are the built-in ones, and at the bottom are the ones that we added in for our specific components. So I want to click on the pirate sprite component and just pause here so you can take a look at the blocks that are available to you when you have the pirate sprite or any sprite. The one that we want to use is this flung method. Let's bring it over here. And over here, we have 6 options that we call attributes. We want to reassign the pirate sprite's current heading to the heading given to us from pirate sprite.flung. This means that the user can now control the direction of the pirate ship with their fingers by flinging on the screen. So that is pretty cool. So what we're going to do is change the heading of this pirate ship. So if I flick it like this to the right, nothing is happening. But what I want is I want the pirate ship to point to the right side. So we're going to get the pirate ship and we're going to set its heading. So let's go ahead and click on the pirate sprite and go down until you see it turn into green. And the green blocks, we're going to say set pirate sprite dot heading. Set pirate sprite dot heading is the one that's above height. We're going to click on it, drag it, and bring it into the screen. So we're going to set the heading to be up, down, left, right, where it's going to be whatever the heading is that's given to us by our flung event handler. So we hover our mouse over where it says heading and get the heading and drag it and attach it to the socket. And now let's see if it works. So there it is. Every time I fling my mouse, my pirate ship points in the direction that I flung. It's now ready to get the control. It's now ready to get the coins, and you're ready to basically play your game. So to prevent the pirate ship, though, one other problem is, what if we get the pirate ship moving in this direction and it just goes away and it just scrolls off the phone? Well, there's going to be a way to prevent the pirate ship from moving off the screen. We want to use the pirate sprite.bounce when an edge is reached. So let's go over here in the next part. We have at the bottom, we're going to leave this for now. Let's put it on the left side. We're going to go to the pirate sprite and grab another event handler. This is going to be called when edge reached. And as the name suggests, this one we use when we have reached the edge of the screen. And what are we going to do when we reach the edge of the scene? We're going to call pirate sprite dot bounce, and the edge is going to be given to us by the edge reached event handler. So pirate sprite has a bounce method. Funnily enough, the direction that we want to bounce to is not going to be north. It's going to be whatever the edge is, provided to us by the edge reached function. So now we're going to be doing the moving the coins. So what we want to do is we want the coins to move to random positions on the screen. We're going to use clock1.timer and the image sprites move to method to do this. So that's going to make the game a little bit more challenging. So we're going to use the clock1 timer method. So that's why we brought this clock in the first place, because we brought this clock over so that the coins can dance around and move to random positions on the screen. So let's go ahead and work on that. So I go to my blocks, and here's what's going to happen. When the timer goes off, we want all our gold coin image sprites to move to a new random location on the canvas. We're going to do this by using sprite.moveTo block. Move2 takes in two arguments, the x and the y coordinates, and the canvas of the new position we want the sprite to move to. Okay, so what we do is basically, if you think about it like this, we have a sketch pad here, right? So we use a block called move2, and it takes in, we have to give it x and y. So we could say move to 200 and minus 200, or whatever. We could say 0, 0. Whatever it is, we're going to use move2 to move our blocks there. So, and what we want to do is we want the sprite to move to a new random location. So we're going to use the random integer block found in the math box. Since we want each gold image sprite to move to a new location, we repeat this process for each sprite's move to function. So let's start this off. We're going to go ahead and click on clock 1. And the block that we're looking for is when clock1.timer. This is your event loop for the game. This is what happens when it every single time, every second this runs. What runs is whatever happens, whatever goes into the socket. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this move2. We're going to move all of the coins. So to move all of them, it's the same process as move one of them. So let's try any one. So we're going to go ahead and click on one of these gold coins. And we're going to say, we're going to call goldcoin.move2. So goldcoin.move2 is here. Now, where do we want to move it to? Well, we want to move it to, ignore that warning because it's saying, hey, you didn't provide me with an X and Y coordinate. And it already ran, right? It's already running every second. So every 5 seconds now, I'm going to get this warning because of this. So let's solve this so we don't get that warning. So what I want to do is get a random integer from 0 to something. So that's what I want the x to be, a random integer. So I can stop this warning. I'm going to just, in the meantime, just set it to 0, 0. So 0 and 0. So now you can see my cold coin 1 all the way up there. And I know where I'm running a little late, so just give me one more minute and then we're going to pause and we'll finish up here. So I've got my gold coin all the way up here, but I want to move it to a random location every second or every few seconds. So that the ship has to go chase it, right? So right now I can point the ship anywhere what I want, but what I want to do is have my gold coin, have the ship run to the gold coin. Okay, so let's do that. So my X is going to be, instead of 0, let's have a random number. So I get that from the math, a random integer from 0 to, and I'm going to do a magic equation that's going to magically give me the coordinates that I need. So it's going to be math, and we're going to use the subtraction one, which is this. Whoops, sorry. Where is subtract? Here we go. And we're going to subtract canvas1.width. So I click on canvas1 and I can get the width by going here at the bottom, canvas1 dot width. Okay. Minus the image sprite dot width. So gold coin 1 dot width. So if I get the width here, okay. So that is going to be my X position. Canvas 1 dot width minus image sprite minus gold coin 1 dot width. And all I have to do for Y is just change it to height instead. So I'll duplicate this and change this to height and change this to height. Okay, so now you can see I have my gold coin appearing randomly across all of the screen. So it's going to be much harder for my ship to catch this coin. So how are we going to do that? Let's find out next week, where we work on this and we get this pointing and catching our gold coins, and you can impress your friends that you created a pretty cool game all by yourself on an Android phone or an iPhone.